This is regarding the primary school places in Havering.
Yes.
Back in 2007, both of my sons were attending Edwin Lambert School in Hornchurch. And around about that time, it was announced that due to a decrease in the birth rate,
yes,
that Edwin Lambert and Manor School in Romford would merge together, and it would result in Manor School closing. And a similar thing happened as well with Dunniford School and another local school. Now, at the time, there was fierce opposition towards this. I believe there was a petition with over 6,000 signatures. Lots of people were highlighting the fact that, you know, though there had been a low birth rate at this particular time, this would soon change. We've had a lot of, obviously, migration from the EU. I think as well, even at the time, one of my neighbours was actively involved in campaigning in it. And she actually brought a clip from the Daily Mail which predicted that around about this time there would be an increase in birth rates. And I think even during 2007, I've also been told that the National Health Service also said that the birth rate was increasing. Now, it seems as if like everybody's opinions were ignored, and just recently, lots of parents parents across Havering have been getting questionnaires in their book bags asking them their opinions and views on what they can do about the shortages of primary school places in Havering. Now, I find this particularly strange, considering that all those parents put their views forward in 2007, and they was ignored, and now Havering Council is asking for their opinions. You know, I want to know, you know, really, what is the situation? You know, what are your plans to deal with this?
Yeah, I remember it very well, because actually I became the leader on the back of that. I became the leader because there was a big argument about R.J. Mitchell School, and that led to the then leader of the council having to resign because he was closing R.J. Mitchell School when actually the majority of the council, including me, were listening to the parents of people at R.J. Mitchell School saying that no, we should keep it open. So I remember it very well, and then what came out of that was a report from the government. And I think Councillor Darville will probably remember this better than I do, actually, because it was the Labour government at the time. They would not allow any council to have more than, and let me think, I've got to get this right, because I think it was 7%. I think no more than 7% overcapacity within the system. At that time, Havering was at 13% overcapacity. So what we did, we had a conversation with the government. That overcapacity equalled, I think it was £1,300 per empty desk that we wasn't spending on children's education. So we had to deal with that. And what we decided to do was try to, as we always try and do, try to make a good thing out of a bad situation. So we planned to take out the spare capacity where we can. We went from, I think it was 13% over capacity, I think we went down to 9%, and we're still 2% over the government's recommendation. If I'm trying to do this from memory, but I'm sure it was 9%, which meant we mothballed quite a lot of classrooms. Hence, we've not had the situation in Havering that they've had in many other places in London, where they've had to bring in temporary class units, bring in porter cabins, and those types of things. We've not had to do that because we were very prudent. We didn't go down to 7, we went down to 9. And what we did with the schools is, those schools that we closed, we took that money, we ring-fenced it, and we built 2 brand new state-of-the-art schools at Highlands and at Elm Park. And I've been to both those schools. They are state-of-the-art schools, and actually I think our children deserve to be taught in the best facilities that we can provide. That's what's happened. Absolutely, as a listening council, we always test opinion of our parents and our residents, and yes, we are testing that opinion at the moment. It is true to say that the birth rate has increased, but the advice I'm given at the moment is that because of the mothballed classrooms that we have, and because of the contingency that we have in place, that we're able to deal with that. And at the moment, you know, the plans that we have in place seem to be coping with that increase. And so, you know, I don't, you know, until an officer tells me something different. We had a 5-year plan. We're in now year 8 and we're still not having to bring in temporary classroom units.
With, I mean, in Harold Hill, there's, I think at the moment 400, there's been outline planning permission for 400 new properties, and then I think another 400, there's about 800 new properties being proposed. You know, what infrastructure, I think Councillor Darver actually raised this, I've read it in the Montford Record a few weeks ago, what infrastructure is being planned to accommodate all these new people? The old site of Edwin Lambert's school is now a housing estate. The old site of Manor School is now a housing estate.
We, you know, when we planned this, we planned with the extra capacity in the system, and you know, things have changed. You know, today, if you was asked me today whether I could plan to build a new Highlands or a new Elm Park today, we couldn't do it because the government won't allow us to do it. Actually, the way in which it's changed now is the government's all about free schools, academies, and those types of things. And so, if we needed a school now, the council wouldn't be building it. It would be encouraging a free school or an academy. As I said, at the moment, the officers in education tell me that the capacity that we have in the system is enough to deal with the demand. We're not shipping, in fact, we're not shipping anyone out of Havering. We're still a net importer of children from other areas, and quite clearly, if we did come under pressure, it would be those children from other areas that we would look at first, ensuring that we always protected our own children from Havering.
So are you basically saying that in the long term we haven't really got a serious problem with primary school places?
You're asking to think the future.
No, but I mean, the thing is to say it's...
And I can do many things. Well, what we do...
across the borough for everybody.
The way we work very closely with the health service. And what we do is we monitor births at the Queen's Hospital, and we can then predict from there the types of numbers that we're going to need going forward. And, you know, at the moment, what I'm told is we're well within the tolerance level that we need to be. 10 years' time, I don't know. I won't be here. Someone else will be making the decision then. But, you know, as I said, we had a 5-year plan. We're into year 8 now, and we're still managing to cope with the increased demand. The government has encouraging free schools. There are organisations out there who are constantly talking to the council about opportunities around free schools, and I would suspect that if we needed a school, then we'd be able to find one. We are one of those councils that have not had a free school set up yet, to my knowledge, and we certainly, the only academy we have is Draper's Academy, which is a secondary school on the hill, and that's doing particularly well in the learning village. But I think that the way in which things are going at the moment, especially in education policy, councils are having less and less and less and less to do with education. In fact, I can see it in the next couple of years the way it's going. Actually, the council responsibility for education will be just the legal responsibilities we have. I think if you look at the way in which the government are going for free schools, academies, devolved budgets, the way in which they're allowing schools to completely manage their own agenda now, means that, you know, as a council we're having less and less and less to do with schools. And if you look at what we're doing at the moment, it's all about traded services, and, you know, how we design services that schools want to buy. Because in the past, what happened is we said to schools, you have our school meals, or you have our HISA service, or you have our HR service. We no longer can do that. Schools are independent, autonomous bodies, so what we have to produce now is what we call traded services, where we say to schools, look, you know, here we are, the council, we will run your HR if you wish to buy it. If you don't want to buy it, you want to buy it from Joe Bloggs across the road, well, then that's your decision. So you can see the nature of education is completely changing, and I think that, you know, if I was predicting, I reckon within the lifetime of the next 2 governments that schools actually, the days of big LEAs and, you know, councils having anything to do with schools are going to be a thing of the past, I'm afraid. It's not something that I personally think is right, but it's the nature of where government's going with some of this stuff.
Or one other comment. Or one other comment.
Yeah, you can have a comment. Sorry, Barry.
Just one other thing. Lorraine, was it? Lorraine, is, there's a mechanism where you mentioned about 400 new homes. As an example, it's a mechanism. It's done through a legal agreement, thing called an S106. And there's a mechanism that allows for a generated volume of monies that will put into place things like schooling or infrastructure. And it's a set calculation that will allow so much per dwelling that is likely to have a child. So and part of the planning process allows for that calculation to be undertaken. So there is a generated income and a funding stream that comes into the council that allows for improvements such as that.
I've noticed, I've seen before as well, I know that a lot of the time when these plans are passed, there's conditions that the developers have to pay X amount towards local authorities and stuff. And obviously with the present climate, a lot of these companies are going bust and a lot of this money ends up not being paid.
The planning permission is reliant on the S106. It's not the fact that they don't pay it, they have to pay it. It's part of the development process. If they don't, and there's an outstanding amount of money, then there'll be a legal process where we will go after trying to recoup that money. But it's part of the legal process of the planning permission that has been given. So it's not the fact they can just walk away from it and not give it to us. A good example is a good example of that is the north side of the market. We have some controls over where the monies go with that, and we have some ownership of that monies.
I think that's probably, that's a really, really good question actually, because it's one of the things that, as I said, the government's changing things. One of the things we're going to be doing is 106 will be going. We'll have the new world of infrastructure levies, and one of the things that you have to get right as a council is that you come up with a scheme, a legal agreement, a levy that doesn't deter development, because development is about not only about building houses but also bringing in new business into Havering. Also, when you're developing houses, we get new homes bonus at the moment. So, that's another funding pot for the council if it can encourage those types of developments. So there's a real fine balance to wanting to encourage developers to develop and the necessity of ensuring that there's a legal agreement in place to pay for education, road infrastructure and those other things through an infrastructure levy. If you get it wrong, you stifle development, and therefore you don't get any development, you don't get any infrastructure levy, you don't get any new homes bonus. And it's a real, for a council, it's a debate that, I know my colleagues in the Cabinet, it's one that we're having all the time at the moment, because it's absolutely critical that you get that right. So that's a really good question. Okay, it's 7:15.